Ludovica, thank you very much for speaking to me. In your own words, please introduce yourself and your university affiliation.
Of course. So I'm Ludovica Cesareo. I'm an assistant professor of marketing at Lehigh University. This is my 5th year at Lehigh. I'm Italian, if my name wasn't enough of a giveaway. So I studied in Italy. I got my undergraduate and master's and PhD in Rome at Sapienza, which is one of the biggest universities in Europe. I then came to Philadelphia. I did a postdoc at the Wharton School here at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia. And then I joined Lehigh as faculty about now 5 years ago. Time is flying. I'm a researcher and I study consumer behavior and specifically consumer behavior with luxury goods. So I think this is why we're speaking today. Yeah, so that is just a quick intro about me.
And your most recent paper, Hideous but Worth It, had a really intriguing title. What was actually involved with that research?
So I'll tell you how it started. A few years ago now, back in 2017, Balenciaga launched these very ugly sneakers called the Triple S sneakers, which I'm sure you've seen, even if you don't know the name. They're these very clunky and chunky, multicolored sneakers. And they were super hit. They were sold out within the first couple of days that they hit the shelves. And right around that time, I was looking at this and I was trying to understand, why would anybody want to own those shoes? They're absolutely hideous. And then, of course, once that trend started, a lot of other brands followed suit in luxury first and then in non-luxury, right? Because they imitate. So it really sparked from that. And I was trying to understand, there has to be, if brands make it, it's because consumers are going to buy it. And so I was trying to understand what's the psychology behind those specific types of purchases. And then 4 years later, the paper that you have just mentioned, Hideous but Worth It, distinctive ugliness as a signal of luxury was born. And so just to give you a quick highlight of what the paper is about, we basically discover that consumers understand that distinctive ugliness is a signal. And specifically, it's a signal of luxury. Because consumers buy luxury products mostly for hedonic rather than functional reasons, the two main reasons why they buy it, the hedonic reasons are aesthetics or brand. And so if you think about it, if they are willingly forgoing aesthetics, right, because it's ugly and it's distinctively ugly, the reason why they buy it has to be the other benefit, which is brand. And it's interesting to us because we did this with various types of consumers, luxury, non-luxury, and everyone, whether you're a luxury owner or not, understands this signal. So anybody who sees a distinctively ugly product says, well, those are probably from luxury. And that's why brands make it, right? Because at the end of the day, luxury is all about signaling. It's about status. And so if you can make a product that without a logo, because we've also studied how does logo interact with ugliness, and basically we find that it's redundant, right? If you have a distinctively ugly aesthetic, a consumer knows it's from luxury, so you don't really need a logo. So it's a universal signal that everyone understands. And we think it's interesting because there's so much emphasis in the world on beauty and attractiveness and this idea of beauty premiums, that, like you mentioned, the idea of an ugly premium was actually fascinating to us.
So are there any golden rules for companies to consider before, from a new product development point of view, they go down the ugly route, or indeed before they can charge an inverted commas, an ugly premium?
Yes. So the most important thing we discovered is that for ugliness to work, it has to be distinctive, meaning it has to be eye-catching and non-normative, because otherwise consumers perceive it just as a mistake, right, as an omission on the part of the manufacturer or the creative team. So the key to ugliness is that it has to be distinctive. And so when you think about it, it has to be almost extreme in a way. In how ugly it is, because the uglier it is, the more it's an obvious signal. And so it's not judged as a mistake or an omission, and thus the signal works. So I think that's really the key, that it has to be intentionally ugly. It has to be distinctive. It has to be eye-catching, right? Which means you think about aesthetic principles, right? They're all based on unity and symmetry and color and contrast. So it kind of has to violate all of those principles in order for the signal to work. So I think that's really the key.
So your research was based very much in the fashion industry, looking at sneakers to start with.
Yes.
What application do you think it has for the bathroom industry, which, like fashion, is design led, but is very different in terms of being a product that lasts in the home for a long period of time rather than being a consumable?
For sure. So I think that, again, we studied it only in fashion because fashion is all about self-presentation and it's all about signaling to others. But if you think about bathrooms as well, unlike other parts of the home that other people don't really see, a bathroom, if you think, for example, of a guest bathroom or a powder room, is a place that your friends, your family, right, other people will see. And so there is a signaling component to it, even though it's not as obvious, right, and as outward facing as fashion is, right? You're not, your bathroom is in your home. So these are people who will come to your home, but it is a place that someone will see. And so I think it has that same signaling possibility as fashion. Clearly to a smaller, a lower degree, because these are people that you need to know, right? It's not strangers on the street, but there's still that component of like a public, quote unquote, consumption. And that's really what this is all about, right? It's about what your choice signals to others, whether it's an ugly sweater or whether it's, faucets or finishes that you decide to put in the bathroom in your home.
Ludovica, any other takeaways do you think from the research for bathroom manufacturers? And I suppose the second part of the question, what comes next in terms of your research?
That's a great question. So I think the big takeaway is that from the little research I've done on bathroom manufacturers and UK manufacturers, I was looking through the brands that are your members. There are some luxury brands, or more luxurious. I was looking, there was Armani and Roca and Vado and Burlington and Laufin. So for them, I think from what I've seen, they've very much been focused on aesthetics and prettiness, right? These beautiful lines. And I think they can be bold, right? Like my research would say that consumers would understand if you chose to go more of a distinctive ugly route. They would appreciate that signal, and most importantly, they would know it's from a luxury brand. So I think it's kind of almost a challenge to some manufacturers that are your members to try and see if this distinctive ugly aesthetic would work. I think consumers would really like it. Because again, I've studied it in fashion, but I can see this working in many other industries, from electronics to bathrooms to cars, right? There's so many applications for this. So my, suggestion would be try and be bold, try to make something different. And I think you'll be rewarded. Consumers will understand and actually purchase the products.
Ludovica, thanks so much for speaking to me. Really interesting research.
Of course, Tom. It was so nice to meet you. Thank you so much.